Hey, Gary's Gulch, welcome back. Is it possible that that incredible opportunity that you're seeking, that amazing job, that ideal client is actually lost by you because you asked questions in the wrong way? You presented yourself in a non-confident, questioning, cowardice kind of approach? Yeah, it is absolutely possible. And worse, it's happening all across the world. And it's happening because of what happened in COVID 2020 and after that. And it's happening because now the rising generations are the millennials and Gen Z that were most affected by that lockdown, crazy response to COVID. And our crazy shift over the Biden administration towards inclusivity and wokeism and all of this. All of those things led people to go down a very bad path. And yet they're trying to present themselves to the baby boomers, to buy the business from them, to get into their large company that has been super successful. Or maybe they're trying to go work for Gen X, or they want to just negotiate to buy a property. It is killing you, the way in which you are presenting your speech. We're talking speech and language, and this is not new. Authors across the globe have written about this for decades. You need to understand this very simple thing that might come across as a rant from me, but it's super important, and it is changing your financial future. And here's one more. Do we, in this world, do the humans have a chance against AI? Are we going to figure this out? Or is AI finally going to be the monster that gets us? Lions couldn't do it. Woolly mammoths couldn't do it. Evil humans couldn't do it. Even Doberman pinschers couldn't get us. So is AI going to be the one that gets us? No, not a chance. God does not have that in store for us. And humans and our instincts and the way we're wired, we're just going to turn this thing into a very useful tool, just like we did that German Shepherd. German Shepherds are amazing animals. I've owned many of them and had them around on our farm. And they are lethal. They will go after and take down humans that are shooting at them. They will get all threats that are out there in front of you. Yet, you can beat on them with a stick. If you're their master and they know that you have their best interests at heart, they give you a lot of leeway. They don't attack. And they will sit right beside you and do whatever you need them to do because they're amazing animals and man's best friend. But AI can be that man's best friend too, and we have the tools to make it happen. Let's go talk about how we do that. Gary's Gulch, again, welcome back. So let's talk about the speech side of things because AI plays into that as well. So there are quite a few famous authors out there. Maybe you have read these books, but I can tell you that a lot of the millennials and Gen Z have not read these books. I've heard crazy things out there. I've heard somebody explaining a job interview that they did on a podcast. I've heard people talking about what their company does, what their passion is. And here are some of the examples of responses. At our company, we want to help Americans have a better life. I've heard CEOs and business owners, again, on podcasts, in front of rooms and speeches, in articles talking about the challenge of hiring young people today. Well, I have no doubt that the greatest generation was saying the same thing about me and my colleagues when we were out there getting our jobs. And I interviewed for some of them in the military. I interviewed them for other jobs as well. There's a generation gap, no question. But that's not what I'm talking about here, is that we just don't understand the young ones. People talk about that in hiring individuals. They say they don't want to work. Well, I think one of the primary reasons that they get this in job interviews is because people today in job interviews, when asked the question of what's important to you or what are you looking to do, they turn it around and talk about themselves. And worse, they do it with this simple voice inflection, which indicates that they are uncertain about their answer. They're questioning whether they're even on a good path. And they're inviting response from somebody else. And when somebody tosses you a softball, when they toss you the slow pitch right over the plate, you're supposed to hit the home run. You're not supposed to bunt it back to them to see if they help you out. And so what I'm talking about is it's very simple. Ending your sentence on an up note, which is questioning, uncertainty, asking for somebody to give you direction and to lead you, or ending it on a down note, which is authoritative. It's finality. It is confidence. Listen, I have no doubt that when the big metal gate fell down on the amphibious beach landing vehicles during Normandy landing in France, when it went down and machine gun fire was coming, I'm fairly confident that the order given by the individual on that boat was to storm the beach. It was not storm the beach. Guys, what do you think? Should we ask them if it's okay to come on board? Right? So it's authoritative, and that's obviously a crazy, exaggerated example. But I learned coming up through the military that we would be tested, right? We would have young individuals. We're the new officer, very shiny little collar devices, and we show up, and these people are hardened, and they have a lot of street cred. And you tell them to do things, and are they going to listen or not listen? So I learned through the Naval Academy. I just learned on the street that to be authoritative means the way in which you present yourself. And so having that authoritative, this is what we're going to do. My company is about this. My goal is to help your company become the best. I want to be a part of a company that has a vision that's going to change the world for the better, right? Not, I want to be part of something that makes me feel excited to come to work, right? I want to be a part of something that's going to change the world. Because the first one was, it's about me. I want to be excited. I want to be, felt like I have a community. That's not the point. You're talking to the baby boomer and the Gen X guy out there who is only interested in making their company better, right? Yeah, maybe they want to grow the next generation, but most importantly is you're interviewing for a job for their company. And so whether it's that or you're selling something, like I can't have a successful business owner client of mine, an ideal client for me, looking for generational wealth, come to me and say, Gary, what's your solution for my family, for what we're going to do? And I can't answer by saying, well, we offer a host of things. We'll probably talk about, you might be interested in a whole life insurance policy, or maybe it's annuities. That's not going to sell, right? And so I'm not saying manipulate people. I'm saying actually be confident and be outwardly focusing. So if you're in the job interview or you're attracting the client, you talk about what you can do for them, and you talk about it in a way in which you're not questioning yourself. And so this actually leads into the second question I asked, which is about AI. Why do I not think AI is a threat where a lot of people say it is? I was just hearing, almost in a crazy, excited, concerned voice, this couple of individuals were talking on a podcast about how AI is doubling its effectiveness in just 3 months. And it's looking to get faster and faster after that. Oh my gosh. Well, this is the Terminator scenario where it starts duplicating so fast the humans can't even understand that we're being taken over by the machines, right? Why is that not going to happen? Well, because there's a lot of things out there that have scared humans. I can remember my great-grandmother telling a story when I was younger that she used to go and jump in the ditches when the first cars would come by in the early 1900s. Didn't know what cars were, didn't have AI to teach her, didn't have television. So she would see this thing, this horseless carriage come by, and it looked alien, like from another planet, and she would jump in the ditches for years. And it took her forever to get comfortable to ride in a car. This is a woman who never got on an airplane, right? That was a bridge too far. Flying like a bird wasn't going to happen. But she would get into cars finally, but it took a long time. It was alien, but humans figured it out. And here's the other thing that's doubling every few months. It's not just AI, it's the humans. Like, how is it that AI is doubling like that? Well, it's not just doing it itself. Humans are the amazing machine out there. Humans are figuring things out. We're getting more able to overcome every challenge when it comes at us. I just read an article this morning that there are huge reservoirs of hydrogen, more than 1,000 times the size of what we thought was available in the Earth's crust in America, in South America, Africa, and in the oceans. And we found this by newer equipment that we didn't used to have. I remember reading in the Bible that God will provide. God will create all that is necessary for man to survive and to thrive. And yet there are these doomsdayers out there. A gentleman that I've known for a long time, he runs his entire career, his entire ethos is about that we're past peak oil and we're going to run out of stuff. And that is not consistent with my understanding of the world, nor of my understanding of God. And this is just a classic example. The Bakken shale formations, we didn't know how to go get that stuff. Yeah, maybe it's more expensive than the other stuff today, but it probably won't be in the future. How about the Marcellus shale, where there's more natural gas than we know what to do with? That stuff's so cheap, the gas prices are so cheap, it's often not even worth it to liquefy it, put it on a ship, and take it over to Europe, where they're paying tremendous levels. We are swimming in that stuff. Now we're going to swim in hydrogen. And by the way, hydrogen vehicles haven't been all of that successful because it's expensive to split the hydrogen and oxygen in the form in which we find it on this planet. But if it's coming right up out of the rocks today, that's how we found it, it's seeping through very low levels and it's being caught on sensors that we didn't have before. But this is hydrogen, pure hydrogen coming out. That means we don't have to split it up. It's more stable in this form and very inexpensive to use. This article went on to say that by current calculations, it provides more energy than we need on the planet for 1,000 years. Think about that. Free energy. What does that do? All wars go away. A lot of the deception out there goes away. And humans start to get able to focus on changing not just the world, but our universe. Free energy, inexpensive energy, abundant energy is what has been necessary. But people also say that's what's necessary for AI. So let's go back to AI. How is it that we're not susceptible to getting taken over by the machines? Well, what I've been trying to weave together in this story here is that humans have been able to overcome all kinds of insurmountable challenges. You know, back in the day when we had the not so pointy stick and we rolled back the rock and went out to find food for the family, there were big old woolly mammoths and other beasts out there that could far overpower us from just brute strength. But we were smart. Those little humans were conniving little guys. And we figured out how to tame every beast on the planet. There is not one animal out there. We are the king of the food chain. And we do it with our brains and with gifts from God. And so I have no doubt that we'll tame AI. Here's the reason I say that. Because, world history says it, and my faith in God says that. But here's an observation that those that maybe aren't standing in the same place I am with faith and historical look, I think could relate to this. And that is that you're able to tell, even with those really amazing, interesting AI videos, where they say that you're saying something, they even show a video, machine-created video of you doing it, that it's you, that it's real, right? And they're trying to sell this thing as real. But there's something about it. There's instinctual things that humans have from God that teach us, that's a little odd. Now, early on in a safe environment, like that's what street cred means, right? Like you're walking down the street and the person that's a long ways away does something, walking differently, shakes their head, looks at you differently. Something, some small little thing that if you have street cred, you get it. But if you're a country bumpkin like me and never seen a bad guy, you look like an idiot sometimes. And I had to fight through that in my young adult time. I got into all kinds of environments that probably should have got me killed, but thankfully God has something more out there for me. My point is that humans are able to adapt, and we have this instinctual thing. It's not going to save all of us all the time, but it will save some of us, and that will be enough. It will save most of us. And from AI, I think it's going to save all of us. And you've heard me talk on and on and on again about women's intuition. It's a real thing, guys. And it's there, obviously, for a very important purpose, to keep the species going. If the mom is not dialed in beyond where the crazy guys are, the dads, we're in trouble. I mean, guys are wired to go do really stupid things to bring home the bacon. Women are wired to protect the family so that we will reproduce, that the species will stay in force. And so lean on that women's intuition. I was going down, I think I've told this story before, so forgive me if you've heard it. I got very patriotic at one point, and I'm not saying I'm not there now, but I was going through my Truth Social posts, and one of the guys that I follow, I just think the world of him. He started chatting with me and wanted to meet and wanted me to invest in something that he and Donald Trump and a couple other people who are doing. And, embarrassingly, I'm probably red in the face as you're looking at me here. I bought into it. And I was having this conversation back and forth, and it was getting to the point where even my dumb brain, I was getting kind of like, ooh, I should probably get a second opinion on this. But I was going to set up to go meet them down in Miami where they live. Now I was tying it to a trip and a visit to my son, but nonetheless, I was kind of caught up in this, as you can tell, and excited. It's also what almost got me to go to January 6th. And even after I was mad at my wife for not having me go to January 6th. But, slowly over time, I start to learn that there's this thing. Like, she could not explain. This is what really made me mad about January 6th. She was like, absolutely not. You are not going. Like, what are you talking about? I'm the man of this house. I'm absolutely going. But it was such a weird, shocking thing, and she was so resigned towards it that I, tried to look into it. I'm like, honey, later, not at that moment, what is it that caused you to say that? Like, why are you so against that? And she really couldn't put it into words. But her instincts were that was a big mistake. And now, that seems obvious to all of us now, but if there's any way you can dial yourself back to the conversations that people were having in November and December, there were a lot of patriots, amazing, incredible people, and everybody who got locked up, the best I can tell, were amazing individuals. Their lives were changed. Some of them lost their lives as a result of that. But my wife said, no, you're not going. And I'm forever grateful. And so maybe it was that caused me to just hand her this and say, hey, what do you think about this exchange, these texts I've been doing? Do you think it would be okay to go visit? And she took one look at it. It was not even like 10 seconds. No, it was not even close to that. It was 2 seconds. She's like, who is this? And I'm like, it's so-and-so. And she goes, no, it's not him. This is a scam. Like, you got to be kidding me. I spent an hour or so with this person. She's like, nope. No chance. And as she started talking about it, she's like, look at this one. Would he say that? Look at this one. And it was just obvious. But to me, the guy who's supposed to ignore things so they go out there and we bring home the woolly mammoth for the family to eat, didn't get it. So I implore you, look to those who have the instincts, the females in your life that you trust, and pause and get a second opinion even from another dude, right? So we can help. But get that opinion. So I've rambled a little bit. It's been a little bit of a rant. But I want you to think about how you present yourself. It's really important because the people that you're presenting yourself to are probably older and have gone through some of the quicksand that was necessary, slogged through the mud to get to where they are. They can smell a rat and they can smell a lack of confidence. And so what happened after 2020 was that we all had to get more inclusive or we would get deplatformed, debanked, get kicked off of the social media sites. Our friends wouldn't be comfortable with us around them because they would be afraid that they would get deplatformed. It was this crazy world, right? And so people started saying things like, okay, so here's a big pet peeve of mine since I'm on the rant. People started saying, scientists started saying, my members of the military and friends, family members, all started saying, I feel like what we should do is this. I feel like what we should do is that. Instead of, I think we should do this. I want to do this, right? See, I think is a lot different than I feel. Because I feel as an emotional being. I'm using my emotions, not my intellect. Haven't done any real research here. I just feel like my feelings are we should go do this. Often that's spontaneous and it's the wrong direction. Is it true that we feel this way if we ended up thinking this way? Yes, the human brain, our gut instincts are telling us something. We feel this way, and that's why we make decisions emotionally, but we rationalize them with logic, right? I love that new car. I want that woman, right? We emotionally get connected, and that's a really important thing about humans. But then we have to rationalize our way there. And if we're saying I feel, to me and to I'm sure many other people out there who have been down this path and are looking for somebody to help their team, if you're constantly saying I feel, it is a signal to us that you have not thought this through. You have not used critical thinking to get your way through this. Right? And that's the lure of AI, by the way, to keep going back and forth between topics. The lure of AI is that they can convince the humans not to do critical thinking. And it is that gut instinct that drives, that feels weird. I'm going to listen to that feeling. What is it about this situation? And you do critical thinking and you figure it out. There's recent studies out there that people who rely almost exclusively on AI to run their life, to get through school, to get through their business, to make their presentations, all of their decisions, they've lost the ability to do critical thinking in a big way. And that's a big, big mistake. Turn off the computers and see if you can survive. Not have AI dupe you, see if you can survive. So super important that we continue the critical thinking side of this world. And that means that we don't allow ourselves to say, I feel. Like, try it for a while. Just stop yourself from saying, I feel like, I'm feeling. Instead of that, say, I think. Because if you're just feeling it and you haven't critically thought about it and you say the words, I think, something happens. You stop and you go, what? Do I really think that? I'm not sure. And then you can use AI to go see what, others have thought. And so I invite you to not say I feel all the time and say I think. Since I'm on the rant, here's a couple of words that you might consider taking out of your language. Listen, language and the meaning of words changes over time. For example, something is an ongoing concern is how they would talk about mature businesses. Almost no one talks about that nowadays. More to the point, the word scheme, Ponzi scheme, conspiracy theories, and the schemes, right? Scheme is a bad word today. This scheme used to mean an ongoing concern. It's something that they created to be an ongoing concern. So, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, if you're talking to Andrew Carnegie and you're asking him about new ventures that are coming, or Thomas Edison about new inventions he's working on, he's like, well, here's a scheme you might be interested in, meaning it's kind of a startup thing that I'm starting to work on. And then it becomes an ongoing concern. But that language doesn't even make sense to us today. So be careful about the meaning you put behind words, but I just want you to understand that words do have meaning in different times. And so here's a very current events kind of an example. When I was in the military, and they still do this today, but I feel sorry for them and they need to stop doing this, and that is that they would say that they're in transition. When you're moving from the military to go do something in the civilian world, we would often say we're in transition. Why did this come up? Why is it such a big deal? Well, because a tank driver, somebody who works on tanks, or somebody who works on helicopters may not have that kind of immediate shift over to doing it in the civilian world. So we had transition classes, and we had we would say we're in transition. You see it in LinkedIn all the time. You still see it a little bit today, but I caution you against using that. The word transition is going to go down in history like the word scheme has, and the word conspiracy. Like conspiring, again, used to just be a normal thing. Two people would get together, they would conspire to create a scheme, which is a new business that they hope would become an ongoing concern. And so, you don't want to talk about conspiracies nowadays. You don't want to talk about schemes today. And you don't want to talk about transitioning members of the military. Even if you have nothing to do with the military, I would get rid of the word transitioning, because that means that you're a mentally disturbed individual who has decided that you are a woman in a man's body. And transitioning means you're changing the body parts to instead of fixing the brain. So hopefully people who listen to this podcast didn't just get offended there. But that's how I see the world. If you're transitioning, you are at a big disadvantage. You walk into your ideal company. You're about to bring on a very large business as your customer. If the first thing when they ask you, tell me about yourself, if you say I'm transitioning, you're done. 2 words. Might as well leave. Because people see the results of that and how we almost lost our republic and how it was nothing but pain, and how they got, people tried to nail them to the cross for saying that they're a believer in Christ and that they believe in family values, and how changing body parts is bad and maybe killing babies is bad. Like you do not want to be put in that camp of somebody who's transitioning, because you're going to ask for Pride Month off. And this is what's going through their brain, right? So get rid of the word transitioning. And then, there's the big DEI thing, right? So using the word equity didn't just get born in the last 5 years. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Obviously, on their own, those words make sense, and you might find yourself using them in a speech. Our company is about including those from different industries. We find it valuable to have people who have been in the auto industry and that have experience in electrical field, right? We want to include all of those expertise levels. Don't go there. Those words are galvanizing right now. So just stay away from them. Figure out a different way to say what you want to say. Okay, so what I had intended here in this one was to just warn you a little bit, in a bit of a funny rant probably, that it is important to understand your audience and to always be focusing on serving the audience, and then stay away from those landmines that are the ending your sentence with a rising pitch because maybe I'm a little uncertain, or maybe I'm questioning why I'm doing this, or maybe you want to feed back to me. I'm inviting a response from you. Instead, I know that this is what is important to me. I'm being authoritative. I'm being final. This is my decision, and I've made it. And I want to exude confidence. And by the way, I'm about serving your company, you, Mr. Customer, your needs, and my friends and family out there. If I want to be on the school board, I am about solving the challenges that you are facing, not my problems. I'm not looking for remote work. I'm not looking for being able to not have to move. I'm not looking for more time with my family. That's all about me. I'm looking to serve you. I'm doing it with authority, and I'm certain I know what I'm doing, and I'm not throwing out the words for you to misinterpret about transitioning, equity, and one more that I forgot to say, reimagining. Sorry, Disney reimagines things by putting men in women's roles. But I see that one out there all the time. We are reimagining how families survive. We're reimagining what space travel looks like. Stop doing that. I'm sorry, find other words. If you go and do some research and you find out that the words that you're using are popular and cool and trendy, yeah, that's true. And that's probably a good marketing move. I'm not a marketing expert, but I'm guessing people are using these words because they have been used a lot out there by others, and AI is probably telling them to use it. But you got to understand humans, and you got to understand that words have meaning and they bring baggage. And the baggage that's coming with reimagining and transitioning and equity and inclusion and diversity, those are bad right now. Got to stay away from them. Just step back, use other words till we get beyond this and we can go back to using ongoing schemes and conspiring. All right. Hey, listen, my friends, words matter. The way in which you present yourself matters. The focus you have, others focused, not personal focused, are huge. And I just don't want you to kill your company, kill your opportunity and your dreams just because you didn't recognize what you're doing is sending big time signals to that amazing head of the food chain that God has created to be able to get those minor little twitches so that we can understand the crazy things that come into our future that we weren't prepared for before, like AI or anything else that is a wolf in sheep's clothing that is trying to trick us. We're going to figure it out, and we're going to move on and be amazing humans. And until next time, go make something amazing happen. And Gary Skelch.